and welcome to the writing classroom. I'm glad you're here. We're here to get more confident, to be reflective about our work, and actually, more than that, we take our hard thinking, we compress it, we're under pressure. It's almost like, think of it as a piece of coal, but we chisel away at it until it gets revealed as a spectacular diamond. We work at sentence level. We don't need a lot to do to prove that we're good writers. And let me tell you, the standard of writing is improving around the world. Well, thank you for being here. Welcome to the Super Sentence Stacking Classroom. My name is Mrs. C, and if you use the hashtag English with Mrs. C, I will always read your work. Okay, when I talk about thinking hard and thinking fast, I mean it. We've got our own slogan, pens up, think at pace, jot quick, writing's ace, and we should have fire coming off our pen because we're getting so excited and targeted in our writing. Right then, so who has made it to the celebration board? Well, when I say I am zinging with excitement, I've been watching this girl over time and she has dramatically improved. In fact, her teacher is mind blown, and we are too. This girl is in year 1 and her name is Sadie. Thank you, Jenny Lund, for sending in her work. And please just take a read of this. I was becoming more and more concerned about the thing's defected front panel, its rusty piston and unhinged feelings regulator. I feel like I've got an unhinged feelings regulator at the moment. Oh, do you know, it does take quite a bit for me to say hashtag heartburst when I read some writing, but quite literally, I've got teacher tingles. Okay, who's made it on the Super Sentence Stacking board? Well, there are 3 awards today. We've got Phoebe from St. Joseph's, and she wins the technical trophy. Well done, Phoebe. You've got the dismantled sprocket, you've got the torn caliper, and you've got the leaky air spring. No wonder you're concerned about the lost thing. And the portmanteau prize goes to Lowena. When I read these, look closely. Can you spot the kitchen things? Can you spot the vehicles? Can you find the animals? The dolphoplane, the alley mixer, the belly pillar. I know exactly what she's done there, but they're really clever, aren't they? And Kayla from year 6, thank you, sent in by Jacqueline Ormsby. You get the Kennings Cup with these winners. Swift Clamberer. This is my favourite though. Look at this one. Tangled Slurper. Do you know, I think children sometimes are better writers than adults because they're not bogged down with cliches and hackneyed old ideas. Their minds are bright and sparkling with new, wonderful thinking. Oh, I love teaching you guys. I really, really do. Let's get ready for writing. Remember, we're doing a story. So when you fold your piece of paper in half, I need you to draw 2 lines over here to create 3 learning chunks. Cut those learning chunks in half so you have 6 word banks for the whole lesson. And remember, on your writing side, please don't leave gaps. I'll show you exactly what I mean. This is a book. I want to create 1 paragraph of writing today. Okay, I'm leaving that on so you can get your piece of paper, you can have a chat with your cat, and you can make sure you're ready to write. Okay, so every time we work in the classroom, we have some lenses to guide us. These come from the Writing Rainbow, and many of you have got the Writing Rainbow as a poster in your home classroom or in your school. So we're taking from the Boomtastics tier onomatopoeia. This is words that sound like the very things we're trying to describe. So we're going to inject a lot of sound into the writing today. The second thing we're going to be working on is dialogue. And actually, it's going to be negative, grumpy dialogue. And I'll explain why in a moment. And alongside the dialogue, we're going to be working on precise verbs. So, just a reminder, we're writing a first person narrative. That means these pronouns are going to be really dominant. Me, I, my. You are the central character. And we're at plot point 3. And it does get quite negative, and we're going to inject that negativity through dialogue. This is the moment where Sean, you are Sean in this writing, takes the lost thing home. He's now certain it's lost. He walks from Pete's place to his house, and I'm afraid when he gets to his house, his parents are not impressed. Take a look at this clip. Look closely how we feel their anger, fed upness, shockedness, actually disappointment. Off we go.
Parents. Well, they already knew that Mum would be concerned about how filthy its feet were. And that Dad would be worried about all sorts of strange diseases. And they both just wanted me to take it back to where I found it. But it's lost, I said. Not that it made any difference. I decided to hide the thing.
Okay, let's now move to Word Bank 1, and we're moving to thinking side. I want us to think about the sounds of the lost thing being walked down the street. We know it's got lots of mechanical parts. We also know it is a living creature. It has a bell. I've been thinking that actually we can get and draw down sounds in these 3 departments. We could think about mechanical sounds, bell sounds, and this sort of human breath idea. This is the sort of thing I mean, these sort of onomatopoeic words. What about this word? I want us to use our imaginations as well. Clunk is an idea I've got, or creak. So you're thinking about, well, we've got to move from Pete's place to our house and the walking and all the sounds that can be heard. The lost thing is a clumsy walker as well. It might be setting the bell off as it walks, so there might be a ting-a-ling. I'm going to hyphenate that. Or I get this sense as well, he's quite a heavy creature, and we can hear his breath quite loudly as he moves. This is a little bit trickier. I'm going to write down a whoosh. Off you go, jotters. Can you come up with at least 6 words here in 45 seconds, 2 in each department? Off you go. Oh, I tell you what has given me a good idea, linked to kind of human breath. It's used a lot in the story Little Red Riding Hood when the big bad wolf is around. So I was thinking actually huff and puff. I'm going to add more now. I'm going to really challenge myself, especially the mechanical words. I think there might be quite a few. Off we go now. Let's audit and add. Oh, there were so many words, wasn't there? Especially for mechanical sounds. Let's move now over to Word Bank 2. And we're thinking about synonyms. I want to write a sentence soon about the lost thing moving down the street. And then actually, I'm going to cleverly use a sentence to get him in the house. So I need him to push through the front door. So I'm thinking about those two ideas, moving and pushing. I think there are sort of more precise verbs I can use. You know, we talked earlier about compressing your thinking, making it more precise. It's like revealing the diamond sparkle of writing. So my idea for moving, in fact, I'm going to give us some rules here. I want them in the past tense. So if they're regular verbs, they'll end in ed. They might not end in ed though. So you have to sort of test them out. We need to collect them all in the past tense so they've got good cohesion across our story. I don't think this lost thing is moving fast. So I think a good word would be trudged down the street. I'm going to write that down. I think he's also a bit awkward on his feet. You know, like waddling side to side or tottering. So I'm going to write tottered down the street. That pushing through the door, I've been using this word all morning, actually. I'm going to write this down. We compressed him through the door. I also think it might be a bit messy. I don't think he'll easily fit there. It might be a bit of a scramble, you know, a scrabble. I'm going to write that word down. He scrambled. We scrambled him through the door. I wonder how many precise verbs you can collect in the past tense. Off you go. I've had another idea that the lost thing's a bit slow and awkward. Look at this, plodded. The lost thing plodded down the street. And then I had another good idea for being pushed through the door. He was almost like wedged. He might get stuck. He was wedged through the door. When I audit an ad, what I want you to do is it gives you extra time to come up with more ideas. When I add words on and you've already got them, you can tick them off and say, and it's a way that I can see as a teacher that you've come up with those by yourselves. But also don't worry if you see me add words that you haven't got, because it's our chance to learn from each other and you can borrow mine. So let's audit and add. Remember, the thinking side. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is your chance to jot quickly. You need to free your thinking up. Don't worry if you make spelling mistakes there. Be brave. This is your let's jot things down. Do you know, sometimes I don't even use any of these words. I have to put in all the effort in. But don't worry about that. It's your thinking. They're for you. They're not for anybody else. They're for you. They're for you to hone your craft. They're there for you to get better. And they're about jottings. They're about quickness. You don't want to stop an idea because your pen or pencil can't work quick enough. Just get it down. That is a different space of thinking to the writing side. But let's move to the writing side now. As I move over, you're going to see my thinking. You're going to get a window to my mind. You're going to see me worry about things, change things, see what I pick and choose or even not choose from my thinking side. Writing isn't easy, but what we're trying to do is really compress our ideas so they are sharp. And on the writing side today, we're going to drench it in onomatopoeic sounds so that it lifts off the page for the reader so they can hear the lost thing trudging down the street. We're tuning into those sounds and we're going to work with a group of 3. I've told you before, 3 is so important in stories. And we're going to use sounds down the street. Sounds to get the lost thing in the house. Look at this. I need to choose sounds walking down the street. All of these are going to be good. I like clang, crunch, squeak. I like whir. I like rumble. I need to choose carefully. I'm going to choose crunch. I like crunch because it sort of hints that maybe some of the parts of the lost thing are getting a little bit broken as he moves along. I'm going to use an exclamation mark just for interest and kind of a bit of shock factor here. Crunch, squeak, rattle. I think all of those mechanical words would work. Rattle. Then I'm going to now say we. That's an important pronoun, so the reader knows that it's me and the lost thing. We walked. We walked down the street. Oh, I don't know why I'm using that word when I've got all of these precise verbs. We waddled down the street. Do you know, yesterday I used waddler as the second half of my kennings. So actually that's a bit repetitive, so I'm not even going to use that. So let's have a look what I've got. We tottered down the street. We shuffled. We stumbled. We trudged. I like trudged. I'm going to use that, I think. We trudged down the street. Can you see how it's almost like those sounds are linking in with the street walking? I now want to get the lost thing into the house, and I want to push him through the door. I think we could get lots of different sounds. We could get his breath in there, or the bell could go off. I'm going to choose this, I think. Oh, it's interesting. I don't even have it on my list. I like this crash. Because I think he could perhaps knock the door frame out a little bit. Crash, smash. I like that, the fact it is a rhyme. Crash, smash, rumble. That's interesting, isn't it? How some of your ideas aren't even on your thinking side. And then I want to get him jostled through the door. You see how I need to have through there. I need to have that preposition, sort of a bit of placing in the environment. We squeezed through the door. We wedged through the door. We clambered. They're all good. We squeezed through the door. We squeezed through the door. Okay, writers, I want you to follow the pattern. I want 3 onomatopoeic words to walk us down the street. I want 3 onomatopoeic words to get us through the doorway. Off you go. Okay, brilliant. I can't wait to read the onomatopoeic words that you choose. Right then, let's now move to learning chunk 2. And this is the moment where we're going to really inject some sort of judgment, some negativity. We've got mum and dad who are not happy, not one jot that Sean has brought the lost thing home. So we're going to think about that really closely. Now, we're going to do that through dialogue, and a good way to get prepared for that is to collect contractions that are kind of more believable, more realistic. You know, we often talk in contracted forms. They're very informal in dialogue. So we're going to collect those that have negative intent. This is the sort of thing I mean, because these could be quite helpful as we splice our story with this negative dialogue. Let's take something like can not. We all know how to do a contracted form. What we do is we push those two words together and this becomes can't. Now, the dropped letter O is replaced by an apostrophe. Can't is interesting because when we push it together, we don't show two ends, two letter ends, we just show one. I wonder how many contracted forms you can collect. Jotters, off you go. What about this contracted form? If we take do not, and then that turns into don't. I think you're going to be quite good at this, actually. And we want those contracted forms that we think can help us write negative dialogue. The contracted form is I shall see you there would be really positive. We want things like, oh, I shan't approve. Try and think now about collecting ones that are going to create the right sort of negative atmosphere that we need. Off you go. Audit and add. I knew you'd be good at that. Right. I now want to here insert dialogue. Well, we've got two characters. We've got three. Actually, Mrs. C, you've got four in the room because we've got Mum, Dad, Sean, and the lost thing. The dialogue we're going to focus on, though, is Mum and Dad dialogue. Mum and Dad dialogue that shows that they are grumpy, shocked, angry. I don't need you to remember the dialogue from the film. We're going to be the creative thinkers here. We are going to take control of the writing and we're going to choose the dialogue that we think will create a good atmosphere. So let's focus on Mum first. Mum is thinking, oh, this is utterly ridiculous. Oh, that's a good idea, actually. She's shocked. She is angry. When you write your ideas down today for Mum, I either want them to be questions, so that's something to think about, or exclamations, because it's kind of heightened emotion. So this is the sort of thing I mean. This is ridiculous. That's my idea. Okay, jotters, can you come up with 2 other things Mum could say that shows she is not happy? Off you go. I've just had another idea. Look at this. This is good. What the heck? Or, I don't know if you know this phrase. It comes from the earliest 20th century and it means really surprised. Oh my giddy aunt. And I'm going to use an exclamation mark there. Let's audit and add more to this list. I think you're going to be really good at this. Okay, let's move over now to word bank 2. As a writer, the most dominant way that you should talk about dialogue is said. Said is the word that we need to use the most. However, at those really low moments and those high moments, it sometimes calls for an alternative to said. I'm going to think about now ways to describe Mum's talk, and I'm going to collect a few ideas. I think some might be better than others. Mum exclaimed. That would definitely work with the exclamation mark. Mum stated. Actually, I'm not sure if that would work. I'm going to put a cross through it. Mum expressed. How many different alternatives to said can you come up with, jotters? Off you go. Great. I'm going to add this word. I think this is going to be perfect, actually. Shrieked. Mum shrieked. I'm going to add more now. How many of yours and mine match? Off we go. Right, we're moving now over to writing side, and as we move over there, we're going to drop in now mum's dialogue. We need certain punctuation, we need inverted commas, the direct quoting of what mum is saying, what has been spoken. And I'm going to now put in the inverted commas. What I want you to do, so listen carefully, is put in two sentences, two spoken sentences that mum says. One of those sentences, I challenge you to put in a contracted form, and the next sentence is this continuation of her shock and horror. So, the first thing I'm going to do is look over on my thinking side. You'll have to get rid of that. I won't be putting up with that thing for long. You shouldn't have brought it home. Let's have a look at some of my ideas. This is ridiculous. No way. Or what on earth is that? Oh, I like that. What on earth is that? It's going back to that idea that you gave me, saying it's outlandish. I love that idea. I'm now going to put in a question mark that lives inside these inverted commas. And then I put how she's saying it. Bellowed mum, moaned mum, grumbled mum, shrieked. Oh, I like that. Shrieked mum. Now, mum is her name in this story, so I'm going to use a capital letter. It's a pronoun, that's her name. So, writers, I challenge you, please, include two sentences of mum's dialogue. One sentence that includes a contracted form, and then another sentence, make sure you've got the right punctuation and it lives inside the inverted comma. Off you go, writers. Okay, let's move now to learning chunk 2. And we are going to have Dad's dialogue here. Something you really need to know about dialogue, and you could be thinking about this as we get ready. When we have somebody else speak in a story, we always start on a new line. We do that so the reader doesn't get confused. But I'll talk more about that again in a moment when we move to writing side. So let's get ready to think about what Dad says. Now, Dad, well, he can't stop thinking about all the problems that the lost thing is going to cause, and the problems he has to solve because, well, the lost thing is now in his front room and he's trying to watch the television. This is my idea of what he might say out loud to Sean. This will give us diseases. Yeah, that's a good idea. Now, I'm going to include an exclamation mark because this is like high emotion. Once again, I want Dad's dialogue to either be exclamations or questions, all these things to create urgency or tension. Or what about this as a question? Does it need cleaning? Does it need cleaning? And that needs a question mark. Right, I want high tension, high emotion, and think carefully at this stage. Is it an exclamation or a question? Or have you got both? Off you go, Jot. I've had another idea about what Dad could say. Where is it going to sleep? Where is it going to sleep? In fact, I've got loads of ideas for this, and I think you will have too. I'm going to audit and add some more now, and if you like any of my ideas, borrow them. Off we go. How did you get on with that? Was it easy? Was it difficult? Let's move now over to Word Bank 2. And again, we're thinking about synonyms, a bit like we did for Mum's dialogue. But this time, I want us to hook into this idea of this sort of questioning and sort of Dad being more puzzled by the whole thing. So questioned is a good alternative to said. Questioned. Do I need to double that consonant? I don't think so, but I'm going to brave it and then I can check it in a moment. Dad remarked. Or what about this one? This is good. Interrogated. I do know I have to double that R there. Interrogated. Okay, let's move now, Jotters. Can you add 4 more into this list? This word, Dad queried. Let me write that down. Now, if I look across queried and interrogated and I'd put them on a shadometer, queried would be less intense. Interrogated would be more intense. In fact, interrogated would be better in the writing, I think. I'm going to go straight in now to an audit and add. And let's see which words between mine and yours match. Okay, now as we move over to writing side, I'm just going to remind you of our last sentence. The last little bit of that sentence, shrieked mum, full stop. Now, we've got a new speaker, and that is Dad. And that means we need to start on a new line, and we slightly indent it. So here, we're going to introduce Dad's talking. But we're going to do it different from Mum's. We're going to have a bit of action and then his talk. We're going to almost reverse how we place the dialogue into the story. So, Dad, and then I'm going to start with an alternative to said. Dad interrogated, Dad questioned, Dad investigated, Dad grumbled. I quite like grumbled. I'm going to choose grumbled, I think. Dad grumbled. That is less common. It is less common that you begin with the action, but it's a really good way that you can inject new interest into your writing. I'm now going to put in a comma, and now I can put the actual quoted spoken words of Dad. And there's lots of ideas here. How will you return it? Oh man, the food bill? I like this though. This will give us diseases. I might change it a bit. This will bring in diseases. This, so inverted commas, this will bring in diseases. exclamation mark to show heightened emotion. And then that's the end. Now, that's all we need, really, in our writing to create this negative atmosphere of the parents who are not happy. But I'm going to deepen the moment. What is deepen the moment? Deepen the moment is about looking closely at the last sentence and really realising what that moment is about. Well, that moment is about Dad. And it's about Dad expressing his anger and fed upness at the lost thing being in his house. When I deepen the moment, I can't change the moment. I've got to stay on it. I've got to go down. I've got to go deeper. I've got to say more about it. And what I'm going to do is think about all the different things I can do as a writer. If I think about my writing Rainbow and the Fantastics, I could write a sentence now about what Dad can smell in the front room. I could write a sentence about how he feels. I could write a sentence about what he looks at. I'm now going to deepen and say more about Dad. So I'm going to write he, because I'm referring to Dad. I don't want to repeat the word Dad. I'm going to use that pronoun. I'm going to think about the sense of sight. He looked the lost thing up and down. It's a bit common that. He looked it up and down. It's a bit of a cliche, but I like the idea of that. He looked the thing up and down. What could I have instead of looked? I could turn that up in my mind. I could imagine a shadometer. I could do some live thesaurus thinking here. He stared. It's in the same synonym family. He stared at, oh, this is good, at it. It. You know, this creature. By Dad calling it an it, it's like he doesn't know quite how to describe it. He stared at it with an air of contempt, an air of disgust, an air of disgust. A lot of people think there's a custard in disgusting, but there's a gust, actually, an air of disgust and thought that it better not get in the way, that it better not get in the way of the television, and thought that it better not. A lot of anger there, locked in that negative word, not get in the way of the television. And that's a deepen. And you can deepen. You can deepen any time you've followed the sentence scaffold with your own ideas and you think, I've got some time. You might have time to deepen. Don't worry if you don't. We're here to make our writing glisten and glimmer like a diamond, and it's worth spending time on. Off you go, writers. Well done. Did you have a chance to deepen the moment? Remember, when you're in a lesson, when you're thinking about writing and you've done what you've been asked to do, you don't have to say to your teacher, "I've finished, miss." You can look at the time you've got. You think, "Oh, I've got another minute. I want to deepen." And then that is where you can glimmer moments of independent thinking. You can't plot push, but you can say more and write more about the moment you're on. Don't worry if you don't always have a chance to do it, but it's there in your writer's toolkit if you need to use it. Okay, so we've come to the end of the third plot point, and I'm now going to read my work back. I want you to spend some time as well, after I've done this, reading your work back. Make sure you like it. You can edit it, you can improve it, and then you can hand it in. Crunch, squeak, rattle, we trudge down the street. Crash, smash, rumble, we squeeze through the door. You can't be serious. What on earth is that? Shrieked Mum. Dad grumbled. That will bring in diseases. I'm now just going to put in that because I want it to have high emotion. He stared at it with an air of disgust and thought that it better not get in the way of the television. Thought that it better not get in the way of the television. Oh, rereading's so important, writers. Silly mistakes occur all the time, but it's a safe place here. We can make mistakes, and it's through making mistakes we take risks as writers and we reveal our own personal diamonds. Okay, everybody, I can't wait to read your work, and get it into me on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. And it's nice to see more of you contacting us on Instagram. It's a great place to share all the photographs. Make sure the photographs are clear. And actually, children, you're better at taking them than the grown-ups. So please make sure I can read them. If I can read them, you've got a chance to make it to the celebration board or the super sentence stack. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Our community is growing. It really is growing, and I'm learning from you, and you're learning from me. Thank you, everybody, and